I'm a huge N64 fan, and I've noticed that interest in the console has spiked over the past 2 to 3 years, but I've also noticed a large amount of people going for complete sets, which does make sense since it has a relatively small library with some solid titles, but that then begs the question of, are the most expensive N64 titles actually good? So instead of just looking at their price tags, I'm going to go through the top 5 most expensive games, and I'll tell you if they're even worth considering. Let's get into it. So the first game is Bomberman 64 Second Attack, coming in at $233 US. This is a game I actually physically own and I've spent quite a bit of time playing. During its release, most reviewers stated that it was a below average game, with most critics only giving it a 5 out of 10. But is the game really that mediocre? And well, to be honest, sort of. It definitely stays true to the Bomberman format, but otherwise it doesn't change much. You do get a pet that helps you out by stunning enemies and some interesting level designs, so if you really enjoy the Bomberman games, this is definitely worth trying out along with the multiplayer mode, but I personally wasn't too into this one, so I'd only really recommend it to fans of the series. Next up we have Worms Armageddon, coming in at $240 US. Now this is another one I own physically, and I was very excited to play because Worms was a game I played quite a bit back in the day. Now this title on the N64 is rare mainly because they just didn't make very many copies of it, but is it a bad game? And well, I'd say no. It's actually a really fun multiplayer game. I enjoyed the nice variety of weapons and the quirky voice lines of each worm. Now I mostly played this game in the multiplayer mode, and that's because I didn't find the single player to be all that great, but after all, this is a Worms game, so that's to be expected. I can definitely recommend this game as worth playing. Alright, so the third game on the list was a Blockbuster exclusive known as Stunt Racer 64, coming in at $378 US. This is a game I really enjoyed, and that kind of took me by surprise because I don't really enjoy most racing games, and although I know a lot of people like Beetle Adventure Racing, I just really didn't, but Stunt Racer was a breath of fresh air. First off, the single player is insanely fun and has a ton of vehicles and various circuits all built around certain characters you have to race. By far the best part of the game is the driving physics. The game feels really smooth, and I love the idea of doing tricks in the air to earn coins for vehicle upgrades. The whole game just has a lot of content packed into it, and it looks great, taking full advantage of the N64 expansion pack. Overall, I would 100% recommend playing this game if you get the chance, as it's a really fun arcade racer. So moving along, we have the second game on the list, which is Super Bowling, coming in at $640 US. Now truthfully, there isn't much to say about this game other than it's just a bowling game. I did read that a lot of people considered it to be the best bowling game on the system, but truthfully, I think Milo's Astro Lane is just more fun to play. Don't get me wrong, this is a fun bowling game, but that's all it really is. It does have some cool unlockables and interesting bowling lane courses, but again, there just isn't all that much here. Overall, I definitely pass on this one as it gets old pretty quick. And the final game on the list is Clay Fighter Sculptor's Cut, coming in at a whopping $1,040 US. This was another Blockbuster exclusive that was basically an upgraded version of Clay Fighter 63 1/3. The main difference between the games is the 4 new playable characters and some very minor gameplay changes. Now admittedly, I'm not the biggest fighting fan, but I still enjoyed this game. It's got a lot of character, and the voice lines definitely make you laugh the first time you play it, but that's where its biggest fault seems to be. And the reason I say this is because it feels like they went all out on the characters and atmosphere and left the core fighting mechanics unpolished. Now it's nowhere near as bad as Beast Wars, but it's still not amazing, and it feels kinda clunky. Besides being a fun game to pick up and play for 30 minutes, I just otherwise wouldn't recommend it. This is truly a piece for a complete N64 set collector, and that's really it. But hopefully we do one day get another Clay Fighter game that can do the series some justice, as it does have a lot of potential, and I'd love to see the clay animations put to use again. And that's all for this list. Please let me know what you guys think of these games in the comments below, and if I missed any, and please subscribe as it really does help the channel out. And with that said, I just want to say thank you so much for watching to the end, and I hope you have an amazing day. Bye.